What we're going to talk about today is something that more than likely you are probably doing right now in this moment. I for sure used to do it myself, and I think it is the number one inhibitor of why we don't get what we want. Does that make sense? The number one inhibitor. The reason why there are so many voices in the community claiming that things aren't working or it never worked for them, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show you why today. And I'm going to base it off of completely Neville Goddard. And I bet what we read today is something you yourself have been doing. And today we're going to talk about how to stop doing it so that we can know comfortably, and I mean K-N-O-W, know comfortably that we will have exactly what we want. And if you would like that peace of mind, if you would like that confidence so that you don't have to worry about what you're manifesting anymore, I encourage you to watch this video till the end. Hello, my fellow flawless, limitless, sexy, sassy, saucy HBICs. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? How are you all? I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're all choosing to be the versions of yourself that have exactly what you want. I hope that's what you're doing. Yes, I do. I would like to quickly say, if you would like to work with me in any way, shape, or form, all of that information is in the drop box below, including my 3 amazing channel memberships. I won't go into all the details of the channel memberships. I just really encourage you to check out the VIP, the Advanced Manifestors. Yes, that looks like it's the most expensive one, but it's because it gives you access to all of the channel memberships, including their replays. None of the other groups get access to all of the replays. Just that VIP group does, as well as another perk that is coming towards that group. Just saying, it's worth it. That's more bang for your buck. Just saying. Okay, I'm going to shut up about that kind of stuff and let's talk today. Yes, I am using Zoom to record this video, so I apologize for all the numbery things at the bottom of the screen, including my screen name. This is the only way I know how to get you to see the screen of Neville's complete reader. So I never promised to be tech savvy. So this is my way of doing it. So bear with me. I'm about to share my screen with you because I think it makes it a little easier to read along with me instead of just listening to me bark out a bunch of words. Okay, so we are talking about the book Freedom for All. We are in chapter 7, Desire the Word of God. Listen to this, peeps. Listen up. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto those things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life. The words of prophecy spoken or in the book of Revelation are your basic desires, which must not be further conditioned. Man is constantly adding to and taking from these words, not knowing that the basic desire contains the plan and power of expression. Man is always compromising and complicating his desire. Here is an illustration of what man does to the word of prophecy, his desires. Man desires freedom from his limitation or problem. The first thing he does after he defines his objective is to condition it upon something else. He begins to speculate on the manner of acquiring it, not knowing that the thing desired has a way of expression all of its own. He starts planning how he is going to get it, thereby adding to the word of God. If, on the other hand, he has no plan or conception as to the fulfillment of his desire, then he compromises his desire by modifying it. He feels that if he will be satisfied with less than his basic desire, then he might have a better chance of realizing it. In doing so, he takes from the word of God. Individuals and nations alike are constantly violating this law of their basic desire by plotting and planning the realization of their ambitions. They thereby add to the word of prophecy, or they compromise with their ideals, thus taking from the word of God. The inevitable result is death and plagues, or failure and frustration, as promised for such violation. Let's back that up for a moment. And let me break all of that down for you. The original piece that we read was from the book of Revelation, giving you the warning of what happens when we take away or add to the word of God, the promise of God. God, universe, higher power, source energy, moonbeams, whatever you believe your pure, unadulterated consciousness is. If you are brand new to manifestation and all of this sounds like gibberish, honey, the true self that you are is more than just the meat sack you have believed. You're more than that. You're much more than that. Just saying. So if you're brand new, yeah, this is going to sound a little shocking. You can handle my sass. I would appreciate you do subscribe though, and let's be friends and let me know that you're my new friend. Just saying. Okay. But I'm going to keep the wording up so we can refer to it. What we are promised is whatever our desire is, whatever we want as a manifestation, it's promised to us. And every single manifestation, every single desire that you say yes to, it already has the perfect plan, the perfect means to how it's going to come to you, to me. But what we tend to do is when we pick a desire, we start getting frustrated, scared, full of doubt. Because as again, if you're not new to my channel, this is not going to be something you've never heard me say before. But once we've said yes to a desire, if our 3D reality doesn't immediately look like it's working or that things are moving in our direction, we have a tendency to start looking at reality from a logical mind or from that logical place, and then we judge. We assume it's not working. Now, I have made a lot of videos recently on bringing to our attention again that messing with the middle is the last thing you want to do on a manifestation journey. And yet we all seem to do it. We all are guilty of making assumptions, conditioning, judging current 3D reality, when all we were ever asked to do was listen to the desire, say yes to it, be clear on what we want, and then keep our focus on it and become the version of ourselves that has the desire. In other words, maintaining the wish fulfilled. This is not something that we must do 24/7 in order to get what we want. But it is the thing that we should be more dominantly doing. The wish fulfilled, the state of consciousness of having. We forget, as this says, that every basic desire contains the plan and power of expression. No, instead, we worry about the 3D. We assume things aren't moving in the direction we want them to. Man is always compromising and complicating this desire. Your basic desire, right? If you forgot what a basic desire is, it's what you want. If you're manifesting a specific person, if you're manifesting to be married, or you're manifesting love, that's your basic desire. And let's keep it real. What do a lot of SP manifestors do? They start shitting themselves if they're not getting daily content, if they don't see their specific person every day, if their specific person is still showing up like their old selves. Now, listen, keeping it real. I was guilty of that. That was a large part of the early days of my journey. I was compromising and complicating my desire. And then from fear, I would dumb my desires down. So I'm going to use the example of my money manifestation that I have talked about countless times, but I'm going to bring it up again. You see, I was manifesting a lump sum of money, $50,000. Okay. But that wasn't originally what I wanted. What I originally wanted was $1 million. But because I felt like that was too resistive, that was too far away, there is no way that I could accept that $1 million would come my way. No way. I could not logically come up with the idea of how that could ever come to me unless it was hurting someone. And I was in fear of anybody being hurt, right? I didn't want an inheritance. I didn't want anybody to pass away. So I dumbed my manifestation down, right? Now he references this. If you can't come up with a plan, if on the other hand, he has no plan or conception as to the fulfillment of his desire. I had no plan or conception of how $1 million could come to me. He compromises his desire by modifying it. I modified it. I modified from $1 million down to 50 grand. And as I have shared, keeping it real, I wasn't even good at that. I was a triggered bitch the entire year that I was manifesting that money. And quite frankly, I ended up giving up on it because I could not get my eyeballs out of the 3D. I could not get my hands out of the 3D because I couldn't see a way where that money was going to come to me. I would get frustrated. Now, mind you, I was experiencing BBLs. BBL money was coming in, but I would get angry when the BBL money would come in. I would get annoyed with it. I would say to myself, what the hell? This isn't 50 grand. I'd get an extra $100 here, 1,000 here, 20 bucks here. And each time I would be, what the hell is this? This is garbage. This isn't what I wanted. This stuff doesn't work. Does it sound like any of you? So when I finally gave up on manifesting that 50 grand, well, what happened? I dropped all my resistance. I stopped focusing on all the things that wasn't working, and it showed up 2 weeks later. Okay. So I'm not suggesting you do it my way. Don't be the giver upper baby pants that I was. But I'm trying to say, I agree with Neville. I compromised my desire. I complicated it, manifesting a specific person. If he wasn't showing up the word for word of what I wanted, I would lose my shit. I would assume this wasn't working. I was a mess every day. Allowing 3D reality to kick me around instead of standing with conviction that I was going to have what I wanted, that I was who I said I was. I do want to give a little side note here. I don't think it's a really big deal from my personal opinion, personal perspective, that if what you're manifesting, you do feel a ton of resistance to, I don't think it's a big deal. So I used my money manifestation here as an example, but I don't think it was a big deal that I went from $1 million down to 50 grand. My resistance, I don't think would have went anywhere, meaning it would have been just as difficult whether I was manifesting $1 million, whether the 50. So to any of you out there that, you starting in the direction of let me manifest in steps, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Okay. I want that made clear. I'm just saying Neville is not wrong. Neville is telling us how to get the life we want, but he's telling us in like a no holds barred, blunt way. But Neville was just a person too. So I don't want anyone to watch this video and think, oh my God, I was going to manifest $1 million, but I started with 10 grand first because that felt a little more believable. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's a bad thing. I really don't. However, based on what we're reading here, Neville is suggesting we don't do that. But Neville is just a dude. He's just a dude. He's a dude like you and I are dudes and dudettes. Okay? I want that made very, very clear. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself because I'm all zhuzhed up today. I think the most important message here is when you're worried about your 3D, when you're thinking your manifestation isn't happening, it's not coming, it's taking forever, we are complicating it. And doesn't it feel like the plagues are being thrown out against us? Don't you feel the turmoil, the frustration? Can you see how it kind of makes sense what Neville's saying? It makes sense, right? That the Bible was written for our minds, for us to change our lives for the better. It was written for us to help our own selves, to learn the who we really are as the I am. There's a reason why we get so damn uncomfortable on the journey when we are so hyper focused and attached to our 3D reality. And here's the reason why, told to us plainly, that when we add to or take away from the word of God, the plagues will be sent upon us. There's a lot of frustration when we're overly attached to our 3D. So why don't we take the active steps to back away from that? Do our best to focus on what is important here. And by what's important, I mean your outcome, on what you really want. I'm going to use another example. If what you're manifesting, if it's a specific person, if you're someone that visualizes, or you like to script, or you affirm certain things, my advice to you is have what you're affirming for or visualizing, have that scene, have the thing you're thinking about truly imply your manifestation is already here. If what you're affirming is something along the way, a part of the unfolding, for example, if what you're affirming for is the day my SP texts me to tell me that he's, head over heels in love with me and he wants to spend the rest of his life together with me. You can pick any affirmation you want. I'm not trying to tell you how to word your affirmations. I'm trying to say, can you see how you putting the focus on the moment the manifestation shows up in reality is not as helpful as you focusing on the moments, plural, moments of already having it. Because when we focus on this must happen in this one way, he must text me. That's how I'm going to know that I have what I want. You're putting the focus on the unfoldment, on how the manifestation can come to you. And it might be one of the reasons why you're struggling. Because if you haven't had the experience of your person texting you and saying the magic words, and maybe your manifestation was never going to come to you in that way. Do you see what I mean? I hope you do. What you want to manifest, that's the state you're reaching for. So if what you're dominantly focusing on is the moment before you're officially in the relationship, do you see how that can be you focusing on your bridge of incidents versus you having the manifestation? The moment that you and your person reconnect officially might look like bumping into each other at the grocery store or running into each other at the, at the Starbucks drive up. It might not have anything to do with a text message, but you're limiting, constricting, grasping at 3D reality to force that one way. And that's not even your outcome. How a manifestation comes to you is not going to be any less magical because you don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be bigger, better than what you're going to imagine. We only have limited views. Most of the time, what we're upset about is 3D reality, the unfolding, the bridge of incidents, when that's the one place we weren't supposed to concern ourselves with. When we put the focus on already being a version of yourself that has exactly what you're manifesting, that in itself should feel a little bit more relieving. Again, like I've said in other videos, yes, I do believe manifestation requires some level of discipline. And just a little side tip, if you're still carrying out behaviors of a version of yourself that doesn't have what you want, like stalking your specific person, stalking their social media, you got to ask yourself, are you really being disciplined? Or are you just being disciplined in the refusal to change your state of consciousness? Your desire for love, or maybe you're manifesting money, your desire for that money is a God universe given right to you. That's a good manifestation. Even if for some of you, maybe that feels like an ego desire. That's a whole other goddamn video. Every desire has a little touch of ego. Just saying, we are not judged by this. It is our birthright to experience love and to be abundant. So there's nothing wrong with desiring what you desire. But again, this video is not about that. If what you're manifesting is a loving, fulfilling, committed relationship, the how it comes to you, as we've heard countless times, is never going to be shown to us. It's just going to be lived by us. And if what you're most upset about and frustrated with, you're frustrated for a reason. You're frustrated because your focus, your attention, your awareness is on exactly what we shouldn't be bothering ourselves about. I'm not saying that's always easy. It didn't always feel easy to me either. So this isn't about judging ourselves. It's about, let's keep it real. Let's be authentic to ourselves. If you found yourself frustrated today with whatever it is you're manifesting, what were you authentically upset about? Was it because you were busy keeping your focus on having the desire? So you got mad about that? Or was it because you were looking at 3D reality and judging what it looks like where in progress you look like you are? Maybe you're in a place of not even talking to your specific person. So maybe you view that as a big fat limit or obstacle to you manifesting your marriage, which from a logical, literal place, I understand. That's why we're not supposed to keep our focus on what we don't see here yet. We're supposed to keep our focus on the end. Maybe the specific person relationship you're manifesting isn't going to have a hell of a lot of inner talk or inner chatter between the two of you. Maybe your manifestation is going to unfold into a damn whirlwind where they come back in hot, swipe you off of your feet. And the hot-blooded love comes together so fast, boom, married, living the rest of your life together. Maybe that's what your unfolding is going to look like. And yet today, maybe you're upset because you haven't heard from them. Anytime we're focused out at 3D reality and judging that 3D reality, we are hurting ourselves. We're hurting ourselves. We're making a conscious choice to focus on the exact place we were told not to focus on. So we're punishing ourselves. And if you were anything like me, your justification for doing it was based in the place of, well, I don't want to get my heart broke. I'm not going to stay manifesting this person for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do this forever. So I kind of need to know what's going on in 3D reality, because if this doesn't happen in a decent amount of time, I'm going to move on to somebody else. I'm going to pick somebody else. I'm not doing this forever. Then you might as well just give up now and go find that other person, because you are nowhere near the version of yourself that's in a loving, fulfilling, committed relationship. Instead, you're hanging around by choice as the version of yourself that's always looking to protect yourself and then find somebody else as a backup plan because you don't think what you want is going to ever happen. Hi. That's the wish fulfilled of fuckery. That ain't the wish fulfilled of a loving, fulfilling, committed relationship and you being in it. You gotta be real with yourselves. We're never angry, mad, brokenhearted when we are embodying the self of having our desire. No, that state, that version of us should feel wonderful, at minimum neutral. we choose to torture ourselves by staring out here. Oh, I haven't heard from SP in, it's been a year, it's been 6 months, it's been 2 weeks, but 10 years. I haven't talked to him. Doesn't seem like anything's changing out here. Doesn't seem to be working. Well, it ain't gonna if you keep focusing on that. If you keep track of linear time, it ain't gonna. This is where we're learning to stop relying on what the 3D is presenting to us and choosing better for ourselves. In other words, think of manifestation as getting ahead of what you see in 3D reality. Staying in the present moment is also helpful. But if you're manifesting, again, it doesn't matter what you're manifesting. If you're manifesting love, if you're manifesting money, a job, health, change of appearance, your only requirement is to talk about yourself, affirm to yourself, script for yourself, visualize for yourself, something that implies that you already have it. That in no way, shape, or form includes looking out at reality and saying, I don't see it yet. This isn't working. I'm afraid it's never going to happen. I should get myself a backup plan. I haven't heard from a specific person in such and such amount of days. If I don't hear from this person in 1 week, I'm going to move on to somebody else. That's you preparing for this not to work. And that is a state of consciousness. That is a version of yourself. I understand the reasons why we do that because I used to be like that too. We are trying to protect ourselves from being hurt again or let down again, brokenhearted, disappointed, embarrassed, humiliated. We're trying to protect ourselves from that without understanding that's us manifesting it. That's us keeping ourselves willingly in a reality to experience those exact things. You want to protect yourselves? You want to make sure that you don't spend the rest of your life alone? Then you start seeing yourself as a woman or man living the life you've always wanted. You start telling a new story. And it might not be easy, and you might fall right back out of it. But with discipline and a determination to not give up on yourself and the practice of detachment from what we think is really happening in reality, and keep our focus on who we want to be instead. I am telling you, everything you're experiencing is absolutely leading you to it. You might not be able to connect the dots of the experiences you're having, but you will be able to in hindsight. But you got to be the one to take the steps. You got to be the one to listen to the knowledge and then apply it. We're told not to compromise, not to add to, not to judge and condition our desires. We are told to focus on having it, the wish fulfilled. From there, everything else will be added onto us, given to us. So authentically, when you started watching this video, what were you really thinking about your manifestation? What were you really thinking? Who were you really identifying as? And if you authentically answer that in the comments below, you're not going to be judged. And we're not going to beat up on you. We're going to love that you were authentic, you've accepted it, and now you're back to focusing where you need to be. This is never about beating up on yourself. I know I'm repeating myself at this point, but this isn't about you being hard on yourself. This is about getting back to it, though. It's about getting back to it. We don't want to be controlled by outside things anymore. This is the point of all of this, to free yourself, to know yourself as God, universe, higher power, source energy, moonbeams, taking control of your subconscious mind, however you view things. This is where you are taking control back of your own damn life, experiencing the love you've always wanted, the amount of money you've always wanted, a career you actually love. Or maybe some of you are manifesting not having to work again and getting just to have money and live a good life. That can happen too. Whatever your dream is, by what we're told, by the, let's say, guidebook of the Bible, no more adding to and taking away. No more. So that we can stop experiencing the plagues of frustration, unhappiness, unfulfillment. And instead, we put our focus where we were told to put our focus. Ask, believe, receive, bitch. Ask, believe, receive, bitch. You can do this. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody on this planet can do it. So on that note, we're doing it together, my friends. We are returning to our decision to focus on the wish fulfilled, the versions of ourselves that have exactly what we want. Your version of self is just another word for or phrase for your state of consciousness. You can get there using any technique, all the different techniques we hear about. They all get you to focus on the state of the wish fulfilled. That's all that matters. And if you're like me, you just consciously tell yourself that's who you are, regardless of what the world of the senses are saying to you. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.